People will say, how does your solution work? Which is basically the solution for giving people like a family compound, like a little intentional community that makes it work. It actually isn't just the buildings, it's actually the jobs and the wellness and the education. And they say, how does it work? And the answer is actually real simple. It's a box that prints money. And I like that metaphor because I worked in manufacturing and I worked in the printing industry, and that's what printers are. Printers are vending machines that print money. Now, here's the nuance on that. The box. I like thinking about the box because it invites you to think about what's inside. It's kind of a black box exercise. And then I say the variety and the quantity of and the quality of money that's printed is a direct reflection of the work that you put into it. And then basically everything fits in that schema. If you're going to talk about doing small scale farming that subsidizes your living, then you need to think about what goes into the box, and it becomes mathematical. As I like to say, it's not magic, it's math. So here's where things get tricky. These small self-sustaining packages, these boxes that print money, that have multiple little things in there that print different types of money, is a perfect vehicle for delivering what's called a disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovations, by formal literature definition, are that which will eventually subsume the existing model. And now I'm talking about language that most people have heard: innovative. Now here is where it gets tricky, because the domain of innovation is filled with dishonest hucksters, and it's pretty annoying actually. It's annoying because I like to say, I need you to blow into this tube, and I want to demonstrate definitively that you are sober and able to represent yourself properly. And I've worked in the domain of innovation for a lot of years, so I know how to do that. That's why I'm Chief Operating Officer for Terra Global Developments. That's why I'm CEO of 214 Alpha. So a person will come to you because they want to put their thing in your box, and they'll say, hey man, we've got this amazing thing and it does this amazing stuff. And I say, that sounds really cool. Actually, I've seen the Facebook short that promises that it's going to do all this cool stuff. I need you to prove it. And there is actually formal literature from the domain of innovation to do that. There's technology readiness and there is manufacturing readiness. And this is not something I made up. This is actual mainstream stuff. I'll actually put it into the article. And it's basically a numbered scale, a maturity model, if you will, that says to what extent is the technology able to demonstrate its feasibility. And you know, that's a part that a lot of times people don't see. They see a Facebook short and it's an AI generated video and they go, wow. And then they'll say things like, they are doing this now. And my grandma Ruth would say, who's they? Who's they? And who paid them to say that thing? And what was the aspired outcome? And you have to be a little bit critical about that. So if I'm going to assemble a magic box that prints money and you want to put things inside of it, I need you to prove to me that it's able to deliver as promised. And that's what the technology readiness, the TRL, is about. It says, to what extent is the innovation able to independently verify its ability to deliver upon promises? And it starts at 1 and ends above that. And it's got to have an independent verification. And if you're working with somebody who's claiming to represent an innovation, they're going to have to prove that. And I'll tell you what, they don't want to. They'll say, oh yeah, we're doing it here. We're doing it here. They actually talk. But you say, well, that's fine. But listen, I need fewer words and I need more verification, because I need you to blow into the tube to prove to me you're sober before I give you my car keys. If you're going to put your magic into this little magic box that prints money, I need you to prove it to me. So I need you to independently verify. And the cool thing is that this TRL framework actually has a schema for independent verification of your technology readiness. The other one is actually more interesting to me. It's the manufacturing readiness, because your innovation might technically do the thing, but to what extent can it actually be scaled? I actually ran into this at Xerox. And actually, John Seeley Brown, he ran the Palo Alto Research Center for Xerox. He wrote a series of essays called the Social Life of Information, and he talked about this exact phenomena. At the Palo Alto Research Center, the Park Labs, they would come up with these innovations. And they were like, look, we have radically transformed how a copy machine is going to be manufactured. And we've demonstrated the technology feasibility. And so it might look good on the TRL scale. The MRL scale, to what extent is the existing manufacturing system able to manufacture this innovation within deterministic parameters, something that's able to be predictable. And that's a different thing altogether. And what that is the necessity to retool the existing system to accommodate the innovation. It has to be done in phases. It's never done all at once. And what you do is you basically dovetail the innovations that are stepwise introduced as the manufacturing system itself has evolved. These are the reasons why innovations are actually difficult to mainstream. And it's because not only are you radically transforming the institution necessary for its delivery, but you're dealing with hucksters. You're dealing with essentially con artists who use words to allay your concerns so they can insert themselves unnecessarily. And there's actually one that we were working with. And I finally told him, I said, man, the more you talk, the less I trust you. Like nothing personal, but I need fewer words and I need more verification. And the good news is that there's a schema for that, and I need you to satisfy it. And they usually leave because they don't want to be held accountable. Now, here's a really interesting thing about innovation. The people who are often most conversant in the nomenclature of innovation are of a particular innovation are least likely to adopt it for themselves. Because the actual disruptive innovations per formal literature are cheaper, simpler, easier to use. So they actually will take root below the fold. They end up falling down here. And in the context of housing, that is in this strata of Americans, for instance, that used to be middle class, and now they're just a little bit south of that, and they don't want to admit that, and they don't want to call themselves lower class. They're not technically a lower class. We're literally talking about multi-trillion-dollar market. But the people who are trying to position themselves to get a cut of that pie are not in that strata. So what they do is that they are essentially gatekeeping the domain of innovation by colonizing the solution space. So you will often get a person who speaks all that language, and they want to be a broker of the innovation and then they want to use their words and their persuasive and their persuasive sense to overcome your concerns that they might actually have a demonstrative innovation. It's an interesting metaphor because I just pulled this tree out of the ground because the roots were not actually established and it was dead. It's a great metaphor because it's beneficial to the forest to do that. Get rid of the dead branches, get rid of the dead trees, put them down on the ground where they can decompose, and get rid of the fuel which might sustain a fire. And that's actually what you have to do to broker and steward a true disruptive innovation into the market. You got to make sure you quantify, but you've also got to get rid of these people that are colonizing the solution space superfluously, which in English is synonymous with the word unnecessary, which I find to be delightful.